and like people talk about what they believe all the time. And I've gotten to the point, Tom, and I've said this multiple times in front of literally thousands of people. I really don't want to hear what you believe in. I want to see how you behave. How you behave will show me every single thing there is about what you believe in.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of Leading Through Unprecedented Times. I'm Tom Burton, your host. So excited to have my good friend, the one and only Tom Burton, hanging out with me today for the podcast. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Had a wonderful day, as we do. You know, life is about choices. Always choose to be positive. So great day here at Princeton.
So, Tom, I have to say, here you are retiring at the end of this illustrious career. And part of the reason that I wanted to bring you on is just the reflections. You know, it wasn't too long ago, I watched you stand in front of your staff for the very last time as an entire group. I watched a huge standing ovation as you went out. I watched you speak from the heart and just tell them and love on them and share with them as you reflected on everything from the first days of your time in the district to now. And man, I have the utmost respect for you, for your leadership, for the team that you've built in Princeton City Schools there in Ohio. So tell our listeners, if you would, just a little bit about who you are, just kind of the journey as you reflect on this, your time in public education, and a little bit about your district.
Well, I appreciate that, Tom. So that was really so humbling to me. I was not expecting that. I was just kind of expecting to try to make people cry, right? I mean, that's what you want to do, make people cry the last time they see you as a group. Obviously, just kidding. So I think just like generally for me, like I've learned so much from a plethora of mistakes that I've made. And I think the biggest thing is learning through some mistakes. There are obviously some really good things along the way, but I think the biggest thing is kind of embracing vulnerability. So I think as I reflect most, I think that's the thing that I learned so much. I mean, initially, yeah, I thought I was the greatest teacher, greatest coach, greatest administrator, and boy, was I so wrong across the board. So people, it's really cool. Been on other podcasts, and this one is some of my friends and colleagues that knew me way back when they see me now, they're like, boy, you are so very different. And I am. I've been blessed to work with unbelievable people, and I'm sure we'll get to that point. But ending my career at Princeton, which for those people that don't know where Princeton is, it's located just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, about 20 miles north of Cincinnati. It's typically seen as one of the most diverse, if not the most diverse school districts in the state of Ohio. And being able to end my career, and especially having my kids go through the district, my wife work in the district, pretty humbling for me to be able to lead about 6,200 kids in an area that's so beautifully diverse and rich with authentic opportunities for kids. It's really been my honor.
You know, Tom, one of the things that I really enjoyed getting to be with your staff, I remember one of the things you wanted to do was just drive me around the community, drive me around town and show me some of the neighborhoods, some of the places. And I was always impressed with the immense pride that you had in the community, the things that your team has done there. But what was so eye-opening to me was just the vast diversity and the needs, but also just like you said, the beautiful community and the folks that were there that you had. And one of the things I know we've talked a lot about, I've heard you speak on as well, is just the importance of thinking differently or just taking that chance. You know, as we drove through part of your community, it'd be easy to say, well, you know, they're not going to have enough resources. They're coming from this home and, you know, poverty's going to hold them down. And we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And it'd be real easy to kind of make every excuse in the book as to why certain neighborhoods, those kids weren't going to be successful. We couldn't do it, funding this, whatever it might be. But that has never been the approach you've taken. And you've looked at things in ways to build community and build structures and build systems to take that chance to think differently. So talk to us a little bit about that, maybe kind of your journey in coming in, some systems that have been changed, whatever it looks like, that in ways we can think differently, ways we can take that chance so that every child and each child gets the opportunity that they need and deserve.
Yeah, so a couple real quick things. So for anybody who's watching or listening, what I'd like you to do, I'm going to ask you three quick questions. I want you to really, really think about your responses, right? So first, I want you to think of what color you're thinking about, what flower and what piece of household furniture. So color, flower, household furniture. And I wouldn't be surprised, right? So hopefully by now you would have thought about those things or perhaps written them down. Wouldn't be surprised if you chose red or blue, or you thought about rose, tulip, or daisy, or if you thought about couch, love seat, or chair. And that's because, Tom, how many did I get?
You're killing me, killing me. You got 3 out of 3 on my end. So I'm waiting for the magician that you're doubling as a magician now these days as well. Like killing me on that.
Yeah. So the reality is that's not uncommon. And it's not certainly because of any gift I have. It's the way that we traditionally think. And typically what you'll see is it'll be 3 out of 3 or 2 out of 3, about 80 to 85% of the people will say that, will choose that. There'll be probably about 10 or 12% of the people, I'll get 1 out of 3. The people who I don't get any on, right, who may choose lilac, who may choose burnt orange, and who may choose like kitchen sink because they're really different or weird. The reality is just the way that we typically think. So those people are the ones that naturally, inherently think differently. Now, many of us kind of fight that battle of how we think. And when we create systems, we have to think differently. Now, we may think in those 3 frames initially, but then we have the innate ability to say, wait a second, that's traditional thought. So what we're going to do is we're going to think differently. So one of the things I feel that I don't feel I'm really good at necessarily anything, but I'm surround myself with an unbelievable team. And it's not just central office, it's in the building. We have unbelievable leaders in the building. And it's not, we know we're not perfect. And I think that's one of the systems to create is a sense of vulnerability to be okay with saying, hey, listen to what I did today. Can you help me through what I could do tomorrow differently? And that doesn't seem like much, Tom, but ultimately it is significantly different than typically run organizations, right? We have to be okay and with being able to lead that way, to show that way, and then ultimately to accept when other people lead that way, because it is so very, very different. And while that may not seem like a big thing, I think it's a little thing that pays dividends over and over and over again. I hope I hit your question.
Yeah, I'm still processing how you knew that I picked blue and lily and couch, by the way, is that's where I'm stuck on that end. No, awesome stuff. Thank you for sharing your brilliance. Absolutely. I love that. And I love how you touched on the team, having had the opportunity to work with your team a bit, what strikes me in just hearing you talk through that is you've modeled that for them and given them the internal ability to also think differently, to meet kids' needs in different ways, restructure things that are needed, build capacity, but one of the things I have to say that I respect most about you, because I enjoy, and I don't get to do this with all our guests for sure, but I enjoy just stepping back that day and watching you in action. And I watched kids run to you. I watched the high fives that happened. I watched the hugs that kids gave you. I watched as other teachers and other people came in, the high fives, the handshakes, the hugs they wanted, all those things, which were really it showed me so many aspects of the respect that they have for their leader, but also just from the culture building aspect of things. And so I want to dive into, none of this happens in the success that you've had and the great things that are happening in the district. The standing ovation for an outgoing superintendent. I mean, it wasn't a standing ovation of like, thank God he's gone. It was out of respect and show. Maybe it was, but I don't know. It was truly showing love and admiration and appreciation for your tenure there. But the only way all that stuff happens if there's a culture and an environment of high expectations, but also a culture and environment where people want to be. And that's the only way our students are going to thrive. So talk to us a little bit about valuing culture, building culture, and what that looks like. And I'll even add the facet that you would add, just the incredible diversity in your district. I will say, as a white male myself, leading as a white male superintendent, leading an incredibly diverse team, which the brilliance in there is absolutely amazing. But you had to be really intentional about a whole bunch of things there and building culture and really looking at other people's viewpoints and valuing other voices and just differences and making sure we're not blind to things. And so talk to us about culture. Just talk to us about some of those different pieces, if you would.
Sure. So my brain is exploding with all these different thoughts. So I'm going to try to delineate them just to a couple. I think first, I definitely don't know everything. And in fact, it's really easy. You've heard this adage, you should never be the smartest person in the room. Well, that's really, really easy for me, right? Because I'm just never that person. But I feel like there has to be kind of a self-effacing humor that you have, like I just displayed, but I do it all the time. Like, I really don't feel like I'm all that special. I feel like my purpose is really, really special. And like people talk about what they believe all the time. And I've gotten to the point, Tom, and I've said this multiple times in front of literally thousands of people. I really don't want to hear what you believe in. I want to see how you behave. How you behave will show me every single thing there is about what you believe in. So, Tom, it means a lot to me that you saw when we walked into buildings that we had relationships with kids, that teachers came up and administrators, and we had that. And I think first and foremost, it's the administrators who have created a culture in their school that shows that it's okay when other people come in to the district. Like, they look at you, Tom, they didn't know who you were, right? Of course, the kids wouldn't know, and some of the staff wouldn't know until you spoke. They wouldn't know that unless maybe they caught you, and some of them did, right? But the vast majority of the people, they're like, oh, hey, that's probably our keynote speaker, and someone who's going to drop some knowledge. And it really means a lot that kids and staff felt comfortable to come up, that it wasn't like such a foreign place that they couldn't say hi. And when I introduced you, or when the kids introduced themselves to you or the staff, that to me is when you create a culture like that, it's not about you as a leader, it's about we as an organization. I would say this all the time, that the true mark of leadership, I think, happens not when you're in the seat, it's when you're not in the seat. So an example, like, when you talked about culture, like very, very intentionally, like we have a Spectra program, which is supporting Princeton educators of color through teaching and through actually appreciation and affirmation and making sure that we're there, right? And so I speak at many of those events, but I leave. I'm not a Princeton employee of color. Like, I know that. And I talk about that intentionally, and I leave. And in fact, one of the most humbling things ever in my life happened a couple of weeks ago, where I was recognized by the Ohio Alliance of Black School Educators. And like, boy, I was seen as kind of a champion of helping people rise up. And that to me was so incredible. And there has to be that intentionality. But when, Dr. Mary Phillips, like a legend around Princeton, like I love her to death, one of my most favorite colleagues ever to work with, so incredible. She was recognized there as well, but she actually got an award. I was recognized, like, hey, thanks for the years of service, but it was so awesome, right? But Mary came to me and she said, Tom, people are worried about the equity work in the district going away when you're not here or when I'm not here. And I said, Mary, it's so much bigger than that. When you spend time and you make things part of a culture, culture will trump any leader all day long. We've seen it all over the country. So I don't know if it's anything necessarily that I've done, Tom, other than I think it's all of us kind of coming together with a central focus to be able to create a culture that the purpose of empowering each student for college, career, and life success is bigger than any one person or any group of people.
I love that, man. And just like a great coach, passing on lots of credit to your team and the people that are leading the way there, and then owning a little bit more of the responsibility, just like a great coach would there. And, what you just shared, I believe, will be part of your legacy now, kind of looking back, moving into retirement. But we'll talk about things. You're not going off into the sunset here. You got a lot of stuff on the horizon, which I'm excited about for, but just the word legacy is something that I think about as you're, moving forward, as you're kind of going to be turning in those keys on kind of that last day. Talk to school and district leaders about leaving that legacy, because it's something that I got to see firsthand happening with you in Princeton and passing the baton onto the next leader and the rest of the leadership there, just about really the importance of legacy, ways that they're going to make it happen. And it's just something that I saw firsthand with you, but talk to them a little bit about the importance of that as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about your book for a second, right? So when you talk about the foundation, I believe that's how the book started, right? The foundation of personal and authentic, right? And you talked about your story. I think a lot of people have heard bits and pieces of my story, and we just had, we're right in the middle or just a little bit above the middle. We have 11 schools in our district. So we've done 7 years of service programs. So we go around, we recognize the winners of Viking Excellence, two of them classified and certified per building, and then all the milestone years of service. And so I talked to all the buildings. I would focus on a teacher like Mrs. Scuduto, my second grade teacher, or Mr. Densler, who was my algebra teacher. And then I've gone all the way through a whole bunch of teachers, right? And many of those teachers were like, oh my goodness, I can't wait till Tommy Burton leaves my classroom, right? They're so excited. But like when I went back and I thought about the influence of those, I don't know if I'm ever going to have the influence that any of those teachers had on me. But I guess the legacy piece is like going out strong. So people have said to me, oh, are you counting down the days? No, I'm not. Are you looking forward to leaving? No, not necessarily, but I'm on the grind every day. And I've said this literally so many times, I'm tired of even saying it, but I want to go out the way I came in. Energetic, passionate, wanting to change the world, knowing that better actually can happen, right? And what you do and the positive optimism, that's really, truly, to me, one of the biggest legacies I want to leave behind is that it really is about a choice that you make each and every day. But just like I said today, look, I know everything's not perfect. I know there's people that we really need to improve a lot, right? We either have to help them grow or help them go. Sorry. Hello, Tom, I'm on right now. Yes, I'm sorry. That was Tom Murray calling to make sure. Actually, so one thing.
You're in school, man. People get it. Like there's no worries. Phones ringing, bells going off. Like every person listening to this, like, yep, that's my world. Right. I get it. I get it.
Right. So, but I think the legacy would be about just developing those personal and authentic relationships. I talked, and you heard me talk about this, Tom, which, by the way, you killed it. You were absolutely amazing. Later on in the day, a couple of times, the staff still talks about it. And I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of people who are going to watch this, not necessarily for me, but they're going to want a little bit more Tom Murray in their life. But so I would say this, that like I've cried with a lot of the staff. And actually, that kind of got me right now thinking about some people, some stuff that they had to deal with that they should have never in their life had to deal with. We have a very close staff member that just went to the hospital and thought they were having a heart attack. That just happened a couple of days ago. And I text, every day to try to see what was going on, either them specifically or somebody who I knew had conversations with them. I think that legacy is really critical, that it's not okay to walk by staff and just say hello without trying to understand their story. And we have 800 staff members. It's hard to do that. I don't know everyone's story, and I wish I did. But when I walk past, and this is so sad for me to say, but it's really true and authentic. So I walked past a staff member's classroom, and I doubled back, and I went in their classroom, and I said, and I know their name, and I called them by their name. And they said they may not want me to share the story, so I'm protecting the innocent. So I said, hey, I just want to thank you for the years of service. Boy, it's amazing. I'm actually sad that you're retiring, but I'm glad I'm going to be part of the retirement class that had you in it. And I laughed and didn't give it another thought, honestly, after that. It was just who I was. And later in that day, they sent me an email. And they said, Mr. Burton, thank you so much for coming in and recognizing me. I just want to let you know you're the only superintendent that ever called me by my name in my entire career. Relationships matter. And I just think to myself, if that's the one legacy, that's awesome. But I hope there's a much deeper legacy, the focus on students each and every day. Like all means all, but all's a group, right? So I literally wanted to resign if we use the word all in our mission statement. We talk about personal learning, but then we say all, but all is a group, right? So each matters. And so I talk about that incessantly. So perhaps if that's a bit of the legacy, that it's not, we can't look at things from a group, because if we do, we lose the beautiful equity that we have, creating equitable opportunities for every student. And that I really believe will be a big piece of legacy. Is the equitable work that we've done. When you look across the board, and there's great work that's done across this country, But when you look at diverse school districts and you look at the top level academic classes, are they representative of this overall student body? And despite great work that's been done, many times that answer is no. I will tell you that when you look at our top level classes, International Baccalaureate, it is representative of our student population. And last year, we had 80% of our students that were seeking International Baccalaureate diplomas were students of color. And that represents our school district, 80% students of color. And when you think that, and it's not always going to be 100% representative, but man, boy, did that send a message that we eliminated a lot of barriers, artificial barriers that prevented students of color, prevented our beautiful female students to be able to matriculate through the highest of all levels. When I saw that, literally brought me down, and how excited I was to see that. And we have pictures all over the internet. It's not what I say, it's how we behave. So fact check me, anybody listening, and you'll see great pictures of our International Baccalaureate diploma students, and you'll be able to see. Now, actually, we need to do a better job with gender equity because you only have one male student. So we have to help some boys get to that level as well. But I think those are a couple pieces of legacy that I hope will exist when I'm gone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate you dropping all that knowledge and just those nuggets of brilliance. I love, dissecting, looking at all versus each, and just being really intentional with our language because it absolutely matters. One of the other things that really hit me going back to our time together as we drove around your district, you were talking about just some of the tragedies that you've had to help shepherd the team through and overstaff. And you pointed out one spot and you pointed to this one church and said, I can't tell you how many funerals that I've been to there and the gun violence that happened over here on this corner, and showed me where things happened. And we could go into and dive into those pieces, but that's not where I want to start to wrap up your podcast. And every leader knows that it's part of the work, and those days are hard, and those days are filled with tears. But I want to focus on the flip side to that. You've given so much credit to your team, to your staff, to the things that you've led, and for your time there in Princeton, or even any other aspect of your career. Talk to me about something that you'll look back and say, I am so darn proud of X. So what is that for you as you really reflect on your career? Give me something there that you can look back on. What's somebody like you that's been such a champion for equity, all this success, these accolades, doing a lot around the country as well. Talk to me about what's something that you look back and you will look back and say you're really, really proud of.
Yeah, so I'm really old. So thanks, Todd. 36 years in education. There's a lot that with the great work and collaboration of other people. Like I love my first teaching team when I was a middle school teacher, and I remember being assistant principal and great lessons learned, and the teachers and the support staff that were so integral in my development, not just administrative. But Dr. Glenn Karoff was phenomenal mentor for me. And then my first principalship, where I was misquoted in the newspaper and learned those lessons and work with an unbelievable staff. And we actually literally, it was amazing the growth that happened in the relationships, and then getting my first principalship and how awesome that was to go into a different environment with loving, caring people and unbelievable. It was like Mayberry there, but there was an innovative spirit and willingness to drive forward. And then eventually coming down to Princeton. And there's a lot of different things, certainly. And I love our team. I love the kids. I'm just amazing. But I have to say, like, when the rubber meets the road, we have to help kids grow. And whether that's grow through social emotional, whether it's grow through mental health experiences, whether it's to grow academically, the reality is this, and I talk about this. Every student has a number. We need to know their number, whatever of the three I talked about, right? Social, emotional, mental health, or specifically academic, but they're not a number, right? You can't treat kids as numbers. But to help kids learn and grow, you have to know where they are academically. And so while the personal relationships are what I'm really ultimately most proud of with student to student, student to staff, staff to student, blah, 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 administrative to administrative and all that, and the staff and students. School districts like us, typically when you look at student growth, work really hard and can grow over the years. But we were number 535 in terms of student growth years ago. and we went all the way up to number 11 last year. And the thing is about that, when you look at that, no matter who you are, no matter what school district, no matter how high performing you are, ultimately every single person cares about one metrics the most, and that's growing students. Because if I'm the highest performing kid, the highest performing administrator, which quite frankly I've never been, so like I don't even know what that feels like, but the reality is we all care about how much we can grow. And so that is one of the many things that I'm uber proud of. And it would never have taken place if it wasn't for some administrators who pushed me, and teachers who said we can, should, and need to do more, and literally support staff who took time out of their day, and they had thousands of things going on, but the students were at their desk literally getting help and support. So when you talk about a village lifting up a child, man, when you look at the growth, it would have never happened without the unbelievable work of so many people. And so that is one of the many things I'm most proud of.
Oh, that's awesome. Not just, walking the walk there or talking the talk, but having the data to back it up and having the proof points to show that it works and the mindset. Absolutely. It certainly is. So two more things real quick as we wrap up. Now that you're, exiting on from Princeton, retiring, and congratulations on that. Could be a recovering superintendent now, like many get introduced, right? If people want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so I just do this. I just did this the other day. People are like, "You're really giving your cell phone number away?" Yeah, for sure. 440-708-4800. And shoot me a text first. I'm really, really good texter. Tom, you know that.
Amen to that. How about it?
Yeah. Also, there's a couple different social media accounts. Obviously, you connect with me on LinkedIn, just Tom Burton. You also, Instagram. I'm still really, really connected to the school. So, for another couple months, you can reach me at Viking Diff Super, and that's Twitter, or at Viking Diff 1 Instagram, and then reach out to me. I'm gonna send a message after I leave to let people know if they want to still connect with me, how you could do that personally.
That's awesome. No, thanks for that. For you doing some speaking, consulting, those kinds of things, if they're looking for some additional insights or help. And so let me wrap up on this piece. You've been reflecting on your career, the lessons learned, the amazing success, the highs and the lows, the importance of each child. As you're speaking here to school and district leaders, if there's just one piece of advice, when you speak from your heart, one piece of advice, something you want to leave them with, what would it be?
18,921,600 minutes I will have been in education when I walk out the door July 31st. Every one of those minutes have been lifted by other people. It is not about you. It is about the students we serve and those we help and have the privilege of serving, which includes the entire educational community. 18 million is a lot of minutes, folks. Almost 19 million minutes in education. And I've been humbled, and I'm humble enough to recognize that it was not me all the time. I know it takes a leader. I don't want to demean the superintendency. It certainly does. But my beautiful family, my beautiful wife, Franca, 3 kids, because it's about them too, Kaylee, Bryce, and Tommy, and who have lifted me up in times when I had to smile all day long, although I knew that I was going to have to speak at one of 8 or 9 times when I got horrific phone calls with student deaths. It's about other people. And I think if you realize that and you do that, I think you're going to look back on a career that you're going to be really proud of.
Tom, job well done, my friend. It's an honor to call you a friend. You're an amazing leader. It's been just an incredible journey. Congratulations on that. Make sure also, my friend, to take some time for you. You've earned it. So make sure you have some time to do before you get rolling on all the things that you have next. That's Tom Burton, everybody. Tom, thanks for your time today, my friend.
Average superintendent leader. It's getting average to a new standard.
You're awesome. Have a good one.
Thanks, bud.